Hello there, my name's Moose, and I'd like to talk to you about what I think is one of the greatest software products of all time, and that's Lotus Improv. Okay, now I've been developing software and programming computers and using computers for over 4 decades. I've used a ton of software, and Lotus Improv is one of the very best I've ever seen. Okay, so let's still talk about Lotus Improv, and I'll do a live demonstration, and then we'll come back and talk about improv in detail and what happened and what could have been. Okay, and why nobody's heard of it today. And please keep in mind that improv's almost 30 years old, so it's going to look very dated by modern application standards. People are going to laugh at it and go, oh my god, look how ugly it is. Don't worry, it's 30 years old. Okay, think about what could have been. And I'm also demonstrating improv running in Windows XP Virtual Machine, because it won't run under Windows 10. Windows 10's killed off the old Windows software, and so I'm running it in a Windows XP virtual machine, which isn't really an ideal environment to demonstrate it in, but it's all I've got. That's all we can do these days, so please keep these in mind. So anyway, on with the live demonstration. Let's do that, and then we'll talk about what happened and what could have been. Okay, so I've just run Lotus Improv here, and it starts me off with a blank sheet. Like when you run a spreadsheet, or like Excel or Lotus 123, you start off with a blank sheet. So this is a blank sheet in Lotus Improv. Okay, and it looks a little bit different. There's item A1 and item B1, and a light cell and a dark cell. And then down here there's category A and category B. Okay, we've got icons across the top, which is sort of reasonably common, and menus are reasonably common still. Although we've gone for ribbons now, which tends to be the flavour of the month, but there's still understandable user interface elements there. And down here there's an area where it looks like we can type. Okay, if I just start typing there, I can. Okay, now this is actually a special area, and we'll come onto this shortly. This is the formula area. Okay, so let's just click back up here. Oops, and delete. I don't want to select anything down here. Okay, and click back up here. Okay, so what can you do? Well, you can just start typing data if you want and typing things, but I'll show you how we can set things up and get improv to help us as we go. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go Jan. I'm just typing. I've clicked on the cell and I've just started typing January. Okay, and then I'm going to click on that cell, and you'll see that there's a little double arrow there to the right of my mouse pointer. And if I just drag that out, because I'm holding down the left mouse button, I can drag it down and drag it out to December. Okay, so I typed in Jan and clicked on that cell and dragged, and improv knew I was talking about the months, and it filled in February, March, April, and so on for me. That's pretty amazing. Okay, let's now click here, and I'll make it that we're going to source sales data by month. Okay, and I want to start for last year, so I'm going to type 2019 there, and then I'm going to click on that cell, and then drag it down. Okay, so I've got enough cells there for last year and this year and next year and for the next whatever years. Okay, so pretty basic stuff. I can just start typing numbers in there if I wanted to, and okay, I can just type numbers just like you can on a normal spreadsheet. Okay, and that's a basic improv sheet. Okay, now what we might want to do is get improv to help us with some formulas. So let's just click on that cell and drag it out one more, and see it says item, and when we release the mouse it says item B2, because we're in category B. Category B is the months, and it's called item B2. That's the next available cell. The first one you might remember was item B1 before we renamed January. So it remembers what the first one was, and it's using the next available number or letter, if you like. Item B2 is next available. Let's click in a header and just start typing, and I'll call it year total. Okay, and now we're going to come on to formulas in improv. Okay, so let's click on that cell heading and go equals, and you'll see all of a sudden our formula area becomes active down here. Year total equals. Okay, and the cursor's flashing there. So I can type sum, and then open round bracket, and then I can click on January up here and drag across, hold the mouse button down and drag across, and highlight all those columns or cells up to December, and then click close the round bracket. So I've just put the closing round bracket there and hit enter. Okay, so I've got a nice English formula there. Year total equals sum January ... to December. Okay, so it's a nice, easy to understand formula, and you can see it's already filled in some values. So the sum for that year was 33, because I've only keyed in 2 values so far, so the totals are easy to work out. Okay, now the amazing thing about improv is that you can click on a cell and see what formulas apply. So no formulas apply to that cell. We're in December. If I click on over here in year total, it highlights the formula. Okay, so I can click on a cell and see what formulas that apply, and I can click on a formula down here and see which cells are affected. Okay, so that's a very powerful feature of improv. You can very easily see what formulas apply there, which cells are calculated and which cells aren't, and you can also, there's also the separation of data and formulas, which is a very useful feature. It's a very nice feature to have. Your formulas are plain English, and they're separate from your data. Okay. Now I can overwrite this total here if I want to. I could type 55 and hit return, and improv warns me the value you entered will overlap a calculated value. Are you sure you want to continue? And you can click OK or cancel, and you can get further explanation if you want. So a formula's already calculating the value. Are you sure you want to override it? And you can either OK or cancel here. Okay. And if I click OK, then it's overridden the formula. And you'll see something else has happened as well. So we're still selecting that cell there, and you can see the formulas become like crosshatched or dotted out. There's a funny pattern over the formula, which means the formula no longer applies to that cell. If we click on the cell down here, the formula still applies. If we click down here, the formula still applies. But if we click on that cell, we've got this pattern that indicates the formula no longer applies. So you're getting these visual clues of when the formula applies and doesn't apply. And if I click on that formula now, you'll see it highlights all of the cells apart from the one we've overridden with the value 55. Okay, so how do we make the formula apply back to that cell again? Well, you can click on it and go delete. And you can delete the data only, the styles only, or the data and the calculated values. We're just going to delete the data. Okay, and that means the formula comes back in action again. So if we click on this, if you click on the formula, it now applies to all the cells again. Okay, so very powerful feature of improv. That's the first one. Is you've got your separate data, and your formulas. Okay, your formulas are very English-like, and it's very easy to see how and where formulas apply. And you can click on a cell, see which formulas apply. I've only got one formula at the moment, but you can click on a cell and see what formulas apply to it, and you can click on a formula and see which cells that formula affects. Okay, let's now change things a bit. We'll make this a little bit more explanatory than just category B. We'll call that months. Okay, so this is like our months column of data, or our months dimension, if you want to talk about dimensions. Okay, so months, and over here it would be years. This is our years dimension. So I'll click on that category A and just start typing, and I'll call it years. Okay, so we've got 2 dimensions now, months and years. And I've got the years down here and the months across the top. If I want to change it around so that the months are down here and the years are across the top, I can just click on that and drag it. Okay, and then click on year and drag it up to the top. And now I've got the months down here and the years across the top. Okay, so you can see you can change views very quickly. Another very powerful feature of improv. And you don't have to have the years up there. You can have them down here. So it's month by year, or you can drag months down into there. Just left mouse click and drag it, and then you've got years and then months. So you can compare all the months of a year really easily. Okay, so you can drag the data around how you want it. Okay, and view the data how you want it. Okay, and that's another powerful feature of improv. So we've got some very, very good things so far with improv. Okay, let's add another formula. So we'll click here and we'll drag 2026, and we're going to click on 2026 and say grand total. So that's what I'm calling it. You could call it total for all years if you wanted to, but grand total. Okay, and just hit enter, and then I'm going to click on that cell and go equals, and you'll see it opens a formula area down here for it, grand total equals, and I'm going to go equals, I'm going to type sum, SUM, open round brackets, and then I'm going to highlight the years. So click on 2019 and just drag down with the left mouse button held down, and it's filled in 2019 ... 2025, and I'm just going to close the round bracket. Okay, so now we've got two formulas. Okay, so we've got the U total formula, which applies to those cells, and then we've got the grand total formula, which applies to all those cells. So we've got two formulas here, and you'll note that in that bottom corner there, when I click this cell, the U total formula, you can see that's got that pattern again, that same pattern that we saw earlier. So that means either I've typed in data there, or another formula overrides the one that I've currently selected. So it can mean two things. Okay, we saw before when I typed in 55 there, and it went cross-hatched like that. So we're now seeing that same pattern again, but it's because this other formula is overriding the U total one. In other words, it's lower down in this list. You can have a huge list of formulas here. You can have hundreds of formulas in this area, thousands of formulas, and the lower and the order they're calculated is the order they appear. Okay, so U total's first, and then grand total. Okay, so that's why the grand total one applies last, and that's the value that it will receive in there. Okay, not that there will be any conflict. I mean, the sum of those should be the same as the sum of those anyway, because it's just a grid. Okay, so there's no conflict anyway, so it just doesn't matter. It's just something's got to be the final one that applies, and it happens to be the last one in the list. Okay, so far so good. So let's now add some more data, or some more categories, if you like, or dimensions. Okay, so you can right click on a category like here, or up here. Okay, I can right click on the category, and I can go add category, and I want to call this one salesperson. Okay, and I'm going to click moose, click on that first cell which is item C1. I want to say moose, and then I want to click on moose and drag down a couple, and I'm going to key in here on item C2 and type Frankie. He's the second salesperson, and down here Bella is the third salesperson. So I've clicked on item C3, and I'm going to go Bella. Okay, and so now we've got three salespeople, and I've got a salesperson category or dimension. So here I've got salesperson, and then the use, they've sold products, and I could type in extra values as well, 44 and 12, 33, 99. Just typing in 172. You can do all the usual things you can do with spreadsheets as well, like you can click on a cell and go Control C or copy, and then just highlight cells and go paste, Control V, Control C, and Control V to paste, just like you can with a normal spreadsheet. Control C. I'm just putting some data in there, so we've got some data to see. Okay, so we've got salesperson, and then years, and then months. So let's rotate our data. We've got a cube of data now. Before we had a grid, now we've got a cube of data. Let's rotate it around so we can see it how we want to see it. And I want to see years up here with months. Okay, so now I've got the salesperson there, and then the years across the top, and then below that I've got the months for each year, and then the year total. And I can scroll across, and I can look at 2021, 2022, keep scrolling across, 2022, 2023, 24, 25, and the grand total's right here at the end. Okay, so you can just move the slider around, and when you release it, it updates the view. Okay, if I want to see years by month, or months for each month, see the year, I can just click on the year and drag it down under month, and now for each month we've got all the years of data, and then the grand total, and then for February we've got all the years of data, and then the grand total. Okay, so you can drag things around and see it just how you want. If you want to just see all the data for a year and not have to worry about seeing too much, you can click on years, and we're going to drag it into this position here. Okay, so click on the years and hold the left mouse button down and drag it across, and now we've got years here. Okay, so we've got months across the top and salespeople down here, and we can go back to January. Okay. And we can use these little up and down arrows to go to 2020, 2021, 2022, and back down again. Okay, so you can use these to navigate through years. Or we could drag salesperson there, and then drag year down to there. So then we're back to the original sort of view that we had, where you've got the years and then the months across the top, and you can go through the salespeople by using the little up and down arrows. Okay, so pretty powerful stuff. Okay, what I might do is just move salesperson down here for now, just so we can see all the data at once. That's so we can see it all at once. And what I might do is highlight all those cells, view total, and then when I do the same thing you can do in Excel, just select all the columns and then just drag them back a bit, and you can see that you can make the cells narrower if you want to, the columns narrower, and you can do that to rows as well if you want to. Okay, let's add in a total for all salespeople. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down from Bella, and I'm going to click on Bella and drag down one. Okay, so we've got item C4, and I'm going to call that sales person total. Okay, salesperson total, there it is. And I'm going to click on that cell again and go equals, and you'll see our formula areas become active. And I'm going to go sum, open round bracket, and I'm going to click on Bella and drag up. So I've got all the salespeople highlighted. So it's moves to Bella, so it goes to the top down, of course. And then I can close the round bracket and click return. Okay, and there's the total for all salespeople. And I might want to expand that out a bit. Click on that and drag it out, so it's, yeah, all on one line then. Okay, so that's a total for all salespeople. So we've got the total for 2019, total for 2020, total for 2025, and a total for all years. So that's for all years, for all months, for all salespersons, 4,660. Okay, and so that's amazing stuff. And if you want to change it so that you're looking at years per salesperson, you can just drag your data around. So now you've got the years down here, and then the salesperson. So you can compare salespeople really easily now. Okay. Oh, you can see. Oh, yes. So Moose had a good month for February, but Bella really cleaned up in May to September. Okay. So and Moose didn't sell so much then. So and poor Frankie, he's only sells a little bit, but he sells pretty consistently. So you can see what's going on then when you compare salespeople. If you want to compare the salesperson over the years, you can see how they did in, you see my drag to that view, and then you can see on 2019 Moose sold this much, 2020, and these might be forecasts for future years. Okay, so there might be actuals and forecasts for future years, maybe. It's just data. It's just silly data made up. Okay, and again you can see which formula applies. If I click on this formula, I can see which cells are affected, and it's those cells there. And if I click on year total, I can see which year totals are affected. Okay, and you'll see there's a crosshatch pattern because grand total's the second formula, so that applies last. And down here you'll see that the salesperson total applies last, so it's why all those cells are crosshatched. If I click on grand total, you can see which grand totals are affected. Okay, so grand total, grand total, grand total. And you'll see down here in salesperson total, they're all crosshatched because the salesperson total applies last. It's a formula lowest down on the list, so it applies last. Okay. So again, it's really easy to see what applies where, what formulas apply where. The formulas are plain English. With a spreadsheet, you're never quite sure what a cell contains. Does it contain data or a cell? You're going to click on a cell and have a look and see where there's a formula or data. But with Improv, it's very clear. Click on a formula, see where it applies. Click on the cell, see which formulas apply. And if you click on one of these cells down here, in this area, you'll see there's two cross-hatched formulas. And because they both apply still to that column, it's a year total column. So those both apply. And it's a grand total column, so they both apply, but they don't apply last. It's the salesperson total that applies last. So that's the one that gets the dark grey or the grey, and the other ones just get cross-hatched. Okay. Now let's add another category or dimension, and you can just right-click here and go Add Category. It doesn't matter where you click, right-click or there, it doesn't matter. Or here, it doesn't matter. Click on another category and click Add Category. And we might add product, so we can keep track of products by salesperson, by month, by year. Okay, and look, you can add products. You can drag here if you want to. Okay, and it still works. Okay, but it expands out vertically very far because there's an item for each year for each salesperson. So it expands out very far. You find yourself doing a lot of scrolling. For the video, I want to drag this category back to the left. It's just easy to work on here. And what I might do is drag salesperson up to the top. Just give me a smaller working space. I'm not scrolling down the screen miles when I've only got a little screen to work on. Okay, I might even drag years up there as well. Okay, so let's add some products in. And so we're running a PC shop, so it's going to be desktop computers and desktop PC, and then we'll have a laptop. Okay, and then we'll have whatever we like, doesn't matter. Monitors and a whole bunch of other things. That'll do me. I'm just going to have 3 products. And if you want a product total, let's drag down one more and we'll go product total. Product total. Okay, and I can expand that column a little bit just to give us a bit more room. And I can click on that and go equals, and I'll go sum for the other products. Just 3 products. So I'll just go highlight those and go round bracket and then hit enter. Okay, so you can see we've got our products there. If you want to add another category, for example, scenario, let's add another category and I'll call it scenario or scenarios. I've used plural. Let's make that salespersons. Salespeople, salesperson. Yeah, see, some people get really fussy about the plural and the singular. I've used months and years. Maybe that should be products. Maybe this should be scenarios. Maybe that should be salespeople. Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about it for this video. So let's have some scenarios in. Let's have actuals. So the actual sales. Okay, and we might drag down one, and we might have forecast. Okay, and we could even have different forecasts. We could have forecasts that are pessimistic, forecasts that are optimistic, and so on. We could have different types of forecasts, and we could do all sorts of things. I'm not going to worry too far. Okay. Okay. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories or 5-dimensional data for each salesperson, for each year, for each month, for each product, for each scenario. We've got their sales and actuals and forecasts. So their actual sales and how much we forecast they should have sold. For example, we might have a special on desktop PCs during June, July, August, and we'd expect the sales of desktop PCs or laptops to go up during those times when we've got sales. Okay, and if they don't, maybe our sales techniques aren't working, or maybe we're not getting the message out, or maybe our prices are too high, or maybe our products aren't good enough. But that's a whole other kettle of fish. Okay, we're just learning improv here. Okay, and again, you can view the data exactly how you want to. For example, I could drag salesperson down here. Okay, now for actuals, I'm looking at the sales by product, and then I'm looking at the salespeople and seeing how they sold. Okay, and then there's a product total for all salespeople, product total there for all salespeople there, and for all products. Okay, and if I want to see it so it's actuals by salesperson by product, then I'll just drag salesperson there, and they swap places, and I can say for each salesperson, I can see their products and a product total. Products and a product total. Okay, and again, you can see which formulas apply. You can click on year total and see all the formulas that apply there, or all the cells that are affected directly by that formula. The cross-hatched ones means, again, it could have been data we typed in, or it could be a lower down formula that has a final say on that field's or that cell's value. Okay, and if we click the grand total, we can see the grand total ones, and that's because we've got the grand total selected here. If we go back to years, we can see the different years. Okay, and see grand total doesn't affect any of those. And then salesperson, that's the total for salespeople, and then the product total down the end there. So you see the product total ones. Okay, so the formulas apply, and you can see very easily where they apply. And the formulas are beautiful in plain English. We've just been using sums here, but there's all sorts of maths you can do. You can do averages and standard deviations and means and modes. You can do graphs and charts. There's a whole lot of extra stuff here you can do. There's all charts and things, and you can drag things around just like you can with a grid here. So you could have a chart that was, a chart with sales on a vertical axis and years across here, and you can just drag the years up to there and the sales down. So all the same things we've seen here for our cells and our grids apply to charts as well. Very, very powerful stuff. Okay, so welcome back for part 2, and we'll talk about improv in detail now. What happened and what could have been. Okay, So version 1 of Improv was released for the Next workstation in 1991. An extra 9 there. And that's Steve Jobs' Next workstation. A beautiful machine. And that was before he went back and joined Apple again to continue development on the Apple computers. But that was Steve Jobs' machine. And then version 2.0 of Improv was released for Windows 3.1 in 1993. So there was no version 1.0 for Windows, it was version 1.0 for Next. And then version 2 came out for Windows in 1993. And then version 2.1 in 1994. Okay. And development stalled in 1994, and Lotus reported that it was because of slow sales or confused users. Users didn't know which product to buy, Lotus 123 or Improv, and it was confusing people in the marketplace. But whatever the reason, anyway, development stalled in 1994. And then in 1996, IBM purchased Lotus and cancelled development on Improv. Okay, which was very surprising and very sad. Okay, it surprised a lot of people. And Lotus Improv included a full-blown programming language called Lotus Script, and it could be used to develop quite lovely GUI applications built on top of Lotus Script, and they're quite lovely for the time. They look very dated now, but we're talking about something that was 30 years ago. Okay, or almost 30 years. For me, it was a very exciting product. I actually went to the launch of Lotus Improv, one of the launches. I think I went to the very first one that was in London. I travelled down to London especially for the launch at my own expense and in my own time, and I was very impressed with what I saw. Okay, everyone at the product launch was blown away, and everyone I used spreadsheets who I showed the product to was also blown away. So in the intervening weeks and months and years that followed, I showed Improv to a lot of people, and everybody who saw it was blown away, completely blown away. Okay, and I was so impressed at the launch, I bought 2 copies of Improv. I think they were £95 each, and I bought 2. And I've still got them. They're both here on my shelf. Okay, so, and people keep emailing me every now and again. I get an email once every few months. I get an email saying, "Oh, you've got 2 copies of Improv there. Do you want to sell one?" No, no, I don't. I've got 2 there with all the discs and manuals, and I'll never sell them. I'd love to be able to release the software onto the internet, but IBM still own it. And I've emailed IBM to say, "Can you release it?" And there's been no answer. Of course, there's been no answer. They're just a big company, aren't they? And they don't care about little guys like us. Anyway, okay, every programmer I showed Improv and Lotus Script to was blown away. So very impressive product. Very, very impressive. Everybody I showed it to loved it. This is the way spreadsheets should work. Everyone I showed Lotus Script to loved the language. Okay, that's a nice language. I could learn that. That looks good. That's a nice object-oriented language. Very well organized, beautiful commands, nice structure. Okay, and so everything was looking great. And as we've seen from my demonstration, there's some very important benefits for using Improv. People can see their data exactly how they want, in tables or charts, and it's very easy to rearrange. We didn't look at charts in my demo. If people want me to do a part 2, I'll do a part 2 with charts. And you can just drag the categories or dimensions around, just like we're doing with the tables, and you can rearrange things very easily. Okay, formulas and data are separate; they're in separate areas, so you can't accidentally override a data with a formula, or vice versa. Okay, you can easily see which cells formulas apply to by clicking on a formula and seeing which cells are grayed or crosshatched. Formulas are in plain English. No more cryptic stuff like A33 equals C55 plus D32, which is what you get with spreadsheets like Excel and Lotus Improv and Lotus 123. Okay, and it was a huge leap forward for serious spreadsheet people. So people that use spreadsheets all day long, it was a huge leap forward. So people like data modelers, data analyzers, forecasters, finance people, everybody I spoke to loved Improv. They loved it. And it had a full-blown object-oriented programming language with it as well. And you could build sophisticated graphical user interface applications in Improv and distribute those to users. The only drawback was, for the time, they had to own Improv themselves. So they had to buy a copy of Improv. But that could have been a future change they made, Lotus made to the product, is to make it so you could compile applications as standalone, so you could give them to people that didn't own Improv. That could have been a change that they made. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And as far as I was concerned, Improv was the future. And everybody I showed Improv to, people at client sites, people at huge power companies I worked at, people who use spreadsheets seriously, everybody thought Improv was just amazing. Everybody. And also there was a general feeling that it was the way spreadsheets should have worked all along. This is the way Lotus 1, 2, 3 should have worked all along. This is the way Excel should have worked all along. Okay? So it wasn't just that it was better, it was that this is the future and it's the way things should have been all along. Okay? And the impact on me, I'll talk about the impact on me at the time. So at the time Improv was released, this was the early 90s, I was developing large-scale financial models and data warehouses and data marts, where all of the data for a company, for example, all of the data from human resources, from finance, from the projects, from the sales, from the marketing, from the ordering, from the research and development, and all the other parts of the company, was all extracted from all their source systems and copied into massive hypercubes of data warehouses and data marts. Okay, so each night a massive extract would run, getting all of the latest data out of all of these source systems and transferring it into the models that I was working on so that the company could see all of their data and in one easy to understand location. Okay, and users could navigate this data and see summary information, so for example year totals, and then they could drill down into the data and see graphs, so on, to understand the business, understand what has been going on, see future trends, and also do what-if scenarios. You know, what if there was a recession? What if a competitor enters the market with a better, cheaper product? What if this happens? What if that happens? So these were great big financial models that I was developing, and very, very powerful things. And as far as I know, they're still running. 30 years later, the models I built are still running in some companies. Okay, I won't say all of them are still running, but I know at least 2 of them are. Okay, so and of course they've probably changed a lot since then. So that was my area of work. That's what I specialised in. I was a software developer, and I specialised in developing really large-scale financial models and data warehouses and data marts, and extracting all of the data from a company, no matter where it was, and putting it into massive hypercubes, and letting the users navigate through it and sort it and display it and drill down and drill up and graph it and chart it and trend it and see the data exactly how they wanted. That was my job. Okay, and that's where I made a lot of money. So these applications I was developing required expensive servers, really expensive servers with tons of memory, and also really, really sophisticated, specialized programming languages like Holos. Okay, and I learned Holos especially to do this sort of stuff. Okay, and I was earning a lot of money as a Holos analyst programmer. In a great deal of demand, I was knocking back work left, right, and centre, and I was earning a lot of money, and I was developing Holos applications. Okay, to do this modelling and letting the users see the data however they wanted. Okay, and then Improv came along, and Improv and Lotus Script could do a lot of what Holos could do, and a lot of what these expensive servers could do, but a whole lot easier, and at a small fraction of the cost. Okay, so even from the first version of Improv that was available for Windows, it could do a lot of what Holos could do, and that was very worrying for me, because I was worried that soon Holos will be dead, and I could be out of work, you know, and if Improv and Lotus Script, it's so easy to develop these models in Improv and Lotus Script that anyone will be able to do it. They won't need my specialist Holos skills anymore. And maybe I could be out of work or looking for new work or looking to move into other areas. Okay, so that was really worrying me. Lotus Improv had a huge impact on me. Not only was it a great product, but it was worrying me that I could be out of work soon. Okay, it was so impressive, so powerful. So what could have been? Well, Improv runs perfectly. Even though it's Windows 3.1 software, it runs perfectly under Windows 95, 98, NT, 2000, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7 and Windows 8. Like 99.9999% of Windows 3 software, it runs perfectly under future versions of Windows for at least the next 20 years. Okay, it won't run on Windows 10 because it requires the 16-bit Windows subsystem, which is no longer included with Windows 10. So Windows 10 can't run 16-bit software out of the box. You can run it via emulation, of course, like VirtualBox and other virtual machines. Okay, so there are ways around the limitation, but I won't run it natively out of the box. If Lotus and IBM had extended Improv to include so you could compile Improv to standalone applications so that you could distribute your Improv applications to users without them having to own a copy of Improv, that would have been a real game changer. And if you could compile Improv to web applications or if there was web app support in there, even though the web was just coming online around these times, 1991, the web didn't exist yet, it was just the internet, which was a really horrible and convoluted mechanism. It was very hard to find your way around, and there was no web pages yet. The web didn't come about until about 1994, and that's when the first web browsers came. So Lotus Improv was before the web browsers came along. So if Lotus and IBM had have made it so you could compile Lotus Improv or Lotus Script apps to be web apps, then that would have been a real winner. They would have been right there at the start of the web in 1993, 1994. And if there was database connectivity built in, which is one thing they were looking at adding in, okay, and if Lotus or the people who purchased them, IBM, had have done these things, Lotus Improv would have taken over the world. Okay, it could have had a huge impact, and it would still be, in wide use today, very wide use. And it could have been there at the birth of the internet or birth of the web, the World Wide Web, the nice graphical web interface that we are used to when we use our web browsers. And that didn't exist in 1991. That came about in about 1994 when the first web browsers like Netscape Navigator were released, or Mosaic. Okay, so we were taught about those things at the time in 1991 and 92. We were saying if Lotus Improv, or if Lotus do these things, they'll be on a real winner. They'll be there at the start of the web. Wow. They'd be crazy not to do it. They've got to be doing it. Okay. And then we heard that Improv was being stalled, or development was being stalled because of slow sales or confused users or whatever. Lotus had stalled the sales. And then IBM purchased Lotus in 94 and cancelled development on Improv. We couldn't believe it. We were stunned. Okay, because all the developers I was working with are developing these large financial models as well. They were either working with me or in other companies, and so we all kept in touch at seminars and conferences and things. And we couldn't believe what Lotus and IBM did. They killed a wonderful product. We could not believe it. We were stunned. Okay. But if Lotus and IBM had done those three things, then it's possible the internet could have been based on a beautiful object-oriented language like Lotus Script instead of the horrible monstrosity that is JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript's a horrible language. You can do all sorts of horrible things in it, and it's the backbone of the internet, but it could have been a beautiful language like Lotus Script. And that's a real shame as well, because Lotus Script's a lot better, a lot more secure, a lot harder to make crazy errors, a lot easier to understand. And JavaScript, there's just so many flaws and horrible parts of the language. It's truly a horrible language. And it's powering our internet. Wow. Okay, so that's really the end of my presentation for this video anyway. If you want further videos, we could have a look at charts. I could show you the charting functionality in Improv, which is really quite beautiful and easy to use. And also we could have a look at the Lotus Script language. I could do some development. I could do some tutorials on the language. So if you want those things, let me know in the comments below. If one or two people reply and say they want it, well, this is going to be dozens of hours of work for me to do this, because I've got to scrape off all the cobwebs and come up to speed on Lotus Script again. So I'm going to scrape off 30 years of cobwebs. That's going to be a lot of work for me. It's going to be a couple of dozen hours of work. So if one or two people want me to do it, I probably won't bother. But if a lot of people want me to do it, I'll definitely do it. So, you know, if people aren't interested, I'll find something better to do. So anyway, that's Lotus Improv. An amazing tool with an amazing future that should have been the way things should have worked all along, and it was killed off before it was even in the prime of its life by short-sighted companies. Lotus and then IBM. Amazing stuff. I still can't believe it. 30 years on, I still can't believe it. Farewell, improv. What could have been?